Alright, so in this video I'm going to walk you through how to do the self-portrait project using Final Cut and Flash. Now I just dragged in a file that has a former student named FIFA, you might know him or remember him. And I took the clip, put it on the timeline, set the timeline sequence settings to make sure that we've got keyframe overlays, audio waveforms, and most importantly, the proper sequence settings. And we went to high def there. And now I'm going to find the spot that I'm going to use for my Flash drawing. We'll choose this. To choose the blade tool and cut the clip at that spot. Now, I'm going to go to the Modify menu and choose Make Freeze Frame. And I can drag that into the browser so it is its own media clip. Now I'm going to export that one clip as a separate still image. So File, Export, QuickTime Conversion, and then name that clip, place it in my Documents folder, inside my named folder, and call it FIFA Still. And now I've exported a still image that I can find in my documents, going back to the Finder, of course. Choose Date Modified, and there is the JPEG that I created. And I look at the size of it, and it's 1080 wide by 1920 high, which is what I would expect because that was a high def sequence that I took the screenshot from. So now I go into Flash and I create a new project. Let's make sure that my properties are all just as I want them. Change my stage size to 1920 by 1080. Change the magnification of the view to fit to window. These are things you should do every time you start a Flash project. Open up my library so that I can drag that still image from the Finder into the library. And now I'm going to drag it right onto the stage and then go to the properties and select that clip and make sure that it is set to 0, 0 so that it centers right under the center of the stage. I'm going to leave that on the bottom layer, create a new layer, save the two layer names. I'm going to choose my brush tool, and then I'm going to choose the size of the brush to make it a little bit bigger, make sure that the brush color is black. I'm going to make this real simple for myself if I can, outlining the image. I think if I'm doing this right, it's going to be recognizable, but it's not going to take me any more than 15 minutes. One thing I can do to help myself is to hide that bottom layer once in a while so that I can actually see my drawing more clearly. If you're going to end up using the Fill tool to fill in areas of color, you want to make sure that as you draw those areas that you have objects with closed outlines. Otherwise the Fill tool doesn't work. Hey, not bad. I'm not taking a lot of time to do these outlines. I'm not using the tablet and stylus. I'm just using a mouse, although you'll get even better results with a tablet, most likely. Now notice I'm bringing the lines just off the edge of the stage there, below his shoulders. I need to be able to connect those later. Like I said, you gotta make closed objects that have outlines that connect so there's no gaps. Let's take a look at what we got. Looks pretty good. Missed a spot there by the neck. Now I'm going to start filling the closed areas. Now I can't fill the coat there because it's not closed on the bottom. So I'm going to need to zoom out just a little bit by changing my magnification to 50%. Now I can go back and get the brush tool and connect those areas so that they can be filled in as well. Save my flash file, which I probably should have done a little earlier. Make sure it goes into the same place. And let's try exporting that as an image. Now look at the dimensions it gives me. The height there is higher than I thought it was going to be. Why? Because I have all that stuff down below the stage, and it's offering to export that as well. I really want this to be more like the 1920 by 1080 of the sequence that it's about to go back into. So I'm going to select those areas off the stage and export the still again and save it. And it's 1920 by 1082. That's pretty close. If I just change this to 1080. Now, back to Final Cut. There's my new flash image right there in the Finder. I'm going to drag it into my browser, and let's go to work and change it to 10 seconds and 0 frames. Now when I drag it in, use the right arrow so it moves everything else over. So I fade in the flash still. Then I move the video over to make room for the still image that I took as the freeze frame. Turn off snapping so I can transition, and you can see how the still image now, the video picks up from the freeze frame. Make them a little bit shorter. I'm going to make it dissolve as my transition between the flash still and the video still. Now you can see how that works. Looks pretty good. And then the video picks up. And this is the effect that you are going to be going for. I think this might work better if I have less of a freeze frame. I want the transition from flash to the still frame to go straight into the video. And now I'm done.